I'm done, maybe eventually you'll realize I'm being a hero.
I want to be a hero too.
Hey, welcome back to Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Harriet, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed in the Season 1 finale of Gen V. Now, this episode lays some brilliant groundwork for Season 2 and also for Season 4 of The Boys. I got a theory on where all that is leading that I'm going to talk about in just a bit, and we're going to talk about that post-credits scene and what it means for The Boys Season 4 and Gen V Season 2. So, the episode begins in the aftermath of Cate ordering Dean Shetty to kill herself as she is hearing everybody's horrified thoughts.
She killed the guy. We all killed someone.
Crazy.
Can we help her? Why didn't you let me save her?
What did you do?
Now, if you think Cate shifted way too far to the dark side, think about what her life has been like. She essentially murdered her brother when she was a child. It was an accident, but her mother kept her behind a steel vault door for her entire life. Now, during that time, she had no friends, and she craved acceptance, friendship, and touch. Dean Shetty offered her what she had been missing, the touch of a mother. But now, Cate has chosen her own kind, her friends. These are the people that helped her out of the figurative woods of her mind and told her that she was going to be okay.
We've been through this. You're up. I'm up. The one thing that is really apparent now is that we are all up.
More than anything, though, she just wants to have their approval.
Marie, I did this for you. I did this for all of you.
At least, that's what she tells herself. Cate really did this for herself. See, for years, she was a little girl locked in her room, and then the dean gave her drugs to lock her away inside of her own mind. And now, just for once, she wants to feel powerful. And Cate is a parallel for a lot of young women who have been told that you have to be a certain way, dress a certain way.
You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much or that you threaten other women, because you're supposed to be a part of the sisterhood, but always stand out.
And now, she's finally just snapped and wants to have control of something for herself.
I don't want peace. I want problems, always.
And there's also something subtle happening here in the finale. When Cate was locked away in her room, her only outlet to the world was her computer. She would have made friends, but they were entirely online. And when your social life is online, it creates an empathetic barrier. You're more free to hurt people because you can't see the physical reaction of hurt on their faces. That is why online discourse is filled with trolling, racism, and sexism. And we see the kids in Gen V experience their entire lives online, like Stretchy Arm Girl filtering her real emotions into a social media post. So I keep saying that scene was a key moment in this show because this is where a student takes a real emotion, grief, sadness, and turns it into a product. And when the parents of these kids gave them a shot of Compound V when they were babies, they essentially turned their own children into products, like Cate brilliantly said in this episode.
You're a product to them, a freak.
This perfectly sums up the world of The Boys and our modern society.
What do you mean by that?
Well, Doug, in our hyper-capitalist, chronically online society, everything you do or say is watched, checked, monitored, and your information is sold to the highest bidder. Just like the kids on Gen V who are actually at the school so they can be studied. So in many ways, they and us have all become products. And when you understand that Vought and Godolkin don't see kids as people, this season really clicks into place. See, a person with Compound V injected into them is a valuable asset. And if that person, like Sam, has mental problems, then they are considered a damaged asset. And a corporation will want to utilize the damaged asset any way they can, even if it means torturing them for scientific experiments.
Yeah, like how hot dogs are made out of whatever gets stuck in the machine.
Exactly. Sam is like a hot dog. We like him, but we're not sure what's going on inside of him. Now, in this aftermath, Sam immediately agrees with Cate. And again, his turn from wide-eyed innocent to rampaging fascist may seem abrupt, but he and Cate have had completely parallel lives. They both live behind giant metal doors and were manipulated by humans for their abilities. They both have been treated like things. In Sam's case, it's also a parallel to real-life school shootings. Oftentimes, the murderers who shoot up schools are mentally unstable kids who have slipped through the cracks of the system. So I totally buy Sam's reaction in this episode. Now, Jordan's first reaction is to call campus security.
Yo, this is up. But Godolkin and Vought are up too.
And this is the whole point of superheroes. When people get powers, it means that law enforcement is no longer the actual authority in the world. Institutions like the police only have power as long as the superhumans agree to let them have power.
Don't thank me, Warden. We're all part of the same team.
as we see later in this episode. And then we go to 7 Tower, where we find out that Andre's dad and Andre are slowly being killed by their powers. Now, this is like an old trope in superhero stories. Heroes like the Flash, Captain America, even Superman have all had stories in the comics where their powers are killing them. It all goes back to like ancient myths of humans possessed by dark spirits who gave them extraordinary abilities but slowly robbed them of their souls. But Andre's dad can still only think of his son continuing his superheroic legacy.
So the polarity costume fits you.
And he gives him this advice.
Do whatever they tell you.
Now this is like what Victoria Newman told Marie last week.
And you better believe that Vought will ship her off to the adult facility if she keeps f***ing up her situation. But the first black woman in the 7, she has real power.
So in this case, parallel the young Supes with like any normal young person. They all have all this energy and new ideas, they have a degree, they want to change the world, but instead they are told to fit in, work hard, and be part of the system so they will get rewarded. In the case of Supes, this goes back to season 1 of The Boys, when Butcher told Huey that the only thing Supes were afraid of was bad press.
But you still ain't twigged to the one weakness they all got. Their reputations.
In other words, their one weakness is that they all want to be loved. And to that point, Ashley Barrett shows up at the school to pick a new member of the 7 so they can distract everybody. They go through Andre's profile, which tells us that he can bench press 350 pounds, and some of his risks here at the bottom include a strained relationship with his father, his friendship with Golden Boy, and that he disappeared during the press event in episode 2. Ashley also notes this skill.
British accent?
First of all, there's no such thing as a British accent. England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland are all British. They're part of Great Britain, and they all have very different accents. Second, I think this is a gag because Andre actor Chance Padermo was raised in England. So when this racist guy mentions his skin tone photographing too black, Ashley says,
"We'll get Annie Leibovitz to shoot him, you racist shit."
Wait, who's that? Who's Annie Leibovitz?
Well, Annie Leibovitz is a renowned portrait photographer who has been criticized for not being able to photograph black people. Then Cate and Sam liberate the woods. So Gen V is an adaptation of the G-Men and the Boys comics, and they are a parody of the X-Men. So I've pointed out in a lot of our videos that several of the characters in this show have powers similar to the mutants. Cate is like Jean Grey, Andre's like Magneto. And this trend continues, with this girl having eye-beams like Cyclops, this guy has a sonic scream like the Banshee, and this kid not only teleports like Nightcrawler, but also runs on all fours like him too. And when they ask Banshee how long he's been locked up, he says,
"Is Gangnam Style still a thing?"
And look, that particular K-pop hit by Psy was released in 2012, which means that they locked this kid up basically when he hit puberty. That's another parallel to the X-Men, who developed their powers and problems when they hit puberty, which over the years has become a metaphor for sexual awakening. In Marie's case, it's a metaphor for the start of her menstrual cycles. Now Sam goes to his old room and sees a vision of his brother in front of a Payback poster, and man, was that ever some foreshadowing. So for years, we have seen how Homelander holds human beings in low regard.
I'm glad you chose your own kind.
You've been helping these mud people.
And over the years, this attitude has gotten more exaggerated, which basically started when he began to date a Nazi, and now we are seeing this Ubermensch ideal trickle down to these young kids. For instance, there was Rufus's alt-right student mob.
Homelander is right.
Now, I have to point out here that the woods underneath the school are a metaphor for the subconscious. They exist in a layer beneath the school, where problems are tucked and hidden away and not really addressed or healed. This is why they're called the woods. The woods are dark, they're mysterious, they're unknowable, they're frightening, like the subconscious mind. To hammer this point home, Cate's brother disappeared in a forest, and that's why her subconscious was expressed as woods. So, if these woods are a metaphor for the subconscious, that means that whatever is said down there is a true thing, the root cause of what's going on above the school. So Rufus's pro-fascist, pro-soup ideals all kind of stem from this sentence.
Helping soups.
Hurting humans?
Same thing.
And also, there's this.
But you're not inferior. You are superior to them.
Now, in the episode where they went through Cate's mind, we saw characters talk to themselves, or at least talk to a version of themselves as embodied by someone else. It's a therapeutic method. Marie talked to her younger sister, representing her speaking to herself, and in this episode, we get to see Sam do that, but like in reality, as he's talking to Luke, and believe me, we're going to dive deep into that in a little bit. So all through this, notice that the blood vessels in Cate's eyes have burst, giving her an almost inhuman appearance. Now, in the past, I've pointed out that her arc is a lot like Jean Grey becoming the Dark Phoenix. In the comics and in the movies, this was when Jean unleashed her full power, in the comics killing an entire planet, and of course her eyes grow fiery red, very similar to Cate's. Now Cate's power of suggestion here,
Eat your own hands, you monster.
Is also a lot like Jesse Custer in the comic book Preacher, which was also written and created by Boys co-creator Garth Ennis. Jesse Custer has the power to tell anyone to do anything, often telling villains to harm themselves, and I can't actually say why because we get demonetized. But Preacher is an all-timer. It's a great comic, very filthy, and I like it a lot better than the Boys comic. And then the rampage begins, which frankly, it's just a little bit too close to home. Anytime I see even fictionalized school attacks on shows like Stranger Things and Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's always really hard to watch. So in the middle of this carnage though, social media Jeff arrives back at the school. And remember, a few episodes ago, he was on crutches.
What is up, my soul sister?
And here he says that he's about to have a hot Jeff summer.
Hashtag hot Jeff summer.
A play on the Megan Thee Stallion song, Hot Girl Summer. But it turns out that he was actually a deep cover security operative, which makes total sense. If the school is a secret lab where they're there to monitor kids, then they would want undercover security. And this also gives new meaning to the panic room shutters in the dorm rooms. The kids think these are there to protect them in case of an attack, whereas the shutters are actually there to imprison them. Also goes back to that old Canadian argument for not locking your doors.
We as Canadians see it more as when we lock the door, we're imprisoning ourselves inside.
And it's another nice metaphor for how the collegiate system is designed to lock you into a lifetime of paying off student loans. Jeff uses a sonic device to control the kids. And look, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I thought it was interesting that the kid is forced to kneel and then he puts this like wafer-shaped explosive in her mouth. The whole thing felt very much like receiving communion to me. Now maybe this is a metaphor for how religion is used to control people. The Boys universe has often shown how religion has been corrupted to be used as a tool to make money and control people. So yeah, maybe this was intentional. Ashley and team proposed Translucent's son Maverick as the new member because all this instability started when Translucent was killed, as we saw in the very first arc from season 1 of The Boys. And then we go back to the theater class directed by canceled Dawn of the Seven director Adam Bork. And of course, he loves this kid's monologue because it's from his own damn movie.
If this is going to be the dawn of the seven, we have to first get through dusk.
I mean, like, the horribleness and bad writing of Dawn of the Seven continues to be a constant gift, from
girls get it done
to Adam Bork's original terrible pitch to the team.
We should work together more often.
You mean like a team up?
And then Sam interrupts, and he and Emma get to do their own dramatic monologue on stage. Now this is an interesting choice for them to do it in this venue because theater is a place where we're supposed to express inner truth while the attention is focused on us, when the spotlight's on us. While in films, you're more easily able to hide the truth with fancy editing techniques. In Sam's monologue, he says,
"And you never asked, what do I want?"
And again, if this whole thing seems very like hyper-accelerated, remember, these are teenagers. Every emotion is hyper-real and hyper-now. Romeo and Juliet knew each other for just 5 days and then committed suicide so they could be together forever. And then Sam cuts to the inner truth of Emma.
Emma, you would do anything for everyone to like you. You're not a hero.
But he's not just talking about Emma. He could be talking about every kid at this school and all Supes. I mean, Butcher called this out in the first season. The only way to control the Supes is to offer them praise. That's why later Ashley employs the same technique to get out of the school safely.
And make a call right now. Whoever kills these rogue Supes gets in the 7.
But for Emma, like, this has a particular sting for her. She wanted to be a hero like Queen Maeve, while her mother was setting lower standards for her.
I mean, like Queen Maeve, you know? Baby, you're not like...
Emma is a character who has struggled to have people see her for who she wants to be. Instead of being seen as being small, she wants people to think she's big. This is why she loves becoming social media famous for being big at the party. And then, after Sam insults her, she suddenly becomes small, which is interesting. Up until now, she thought that she could only grow or shrink because of food. But maybe her powers are actually tied to her emotions. Throwing up makes her feel small, so she gets small. Eating makes her feel powerful, so she becomes powerful. And if that's the case, then she really did have an eating disorder all along.
What?
And then Sam gets to make a decision. The memory of his brother is trying to reason with him, telling him that it's wrong to hurt people, while Cate is offering him a chance to not feel anything anymore and to just do what he wants. So this is a battle between Sam's id and his superego. See, Freud speculated that the id is your base instinct, acting out of fear or rage, while your superego is your sense of like higher morality. And your ego is basically your actual self. It's like balancing the two. And it's also like the cartoons where people have a devil and an angel on their shoulders. Here, Sam chooses the devil. He no longer wants to feel any empathy, and instead he chooses to be detached from the world.
Feel nothing.
I feel so empty.
In other words, Sam has chosen to become a sociopath. And I also thought that Luke's argument here,
You are what you do.
Yeah?
Was a callback to one of my all-time favorite films, The Iron Giant.
You are who you choose to be.
Adam breaks into the trustee meeting by threatening to go public with the disgusting things that he and Ashley did to each other in the bathroom at a fundraiser. And remember, we saw these two hooking up at the premiere of Dawn of the Seven. And you know, here we see that Ashley, just like the Supes, can be totally controlled by the public's perception of her. And right here, we hear a Wilhelm scream. That is the famous sound effect that has been in almost every movie you've ever seen. After the lockdown, Justine doesn't panic because she's in danger. She panics because she lost internet service.
I just lost Wi-Fi.
There's no signal.
Probably because she was live streaming, getting crazy views, and then her lifeline was cut off. Again, this is showing how these kids just don't know how to express a human emotion unless it's through the filter of a device.
Who's gonna know if we die? What the fuck?
So Andre chooses to help the humans, and this actor really sells that he's really controlling a helicopter with his magnetic powers, something that Michael Fassbender really struggled to pull off in Dark Phoenix. The battle in the quad is taking place in front of all these statues of heroes that I've pointed out in past videos, but in particular we see Black Noir, Polarity, and Crimson Countess, three Supes whose lives have been utterly destroyed simply by being superhuman. So now suddenly Andre using his powers is a thing that hurts him. I have to go back and look at the season, but I don't think we've seen this happen to him anywhere else in the show up till now. If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments, because I know you're going to anyways.
I could be wrong. You can be, and are wrong.
Now, the most badass moment of this episode was the Marie-Maverick fight. So if Maverick takes after his dad, then his skin would be diamond hard and unbreakable, but he can still be knocked unconscious. And I love this moment where she remembers Newman's words and finds the compound V in his blood. Then suddenly she can see his whole circulatory system. But I thought it was interesting that when she knocked him out, he turns visible. This did not happen when the boys electrocuted his dad to make him unconscious. And what a freaking weirdo who chose to walk around naked in a hat and glasses.
I mean, what's so weird about being naked? I am Pooh Bearing it as we speak.
That is your personal choice, and I accept you. High five. And then Cate offers Andre her hand. Now, I'm pretty sure this was never a genuine gesture. But if it was, then this was the moment when she was lost for good. For her whole life, people have been afraid to touch her. Andre rejecting her touch is the last moment when she could have had a human connection with someone, and she's rejected. Now, I keep reminding everybody that this show is in part inspired by the X-Men, and just like how mutants are always at each other's throats in those stories, this episode climaxes with Supes fighting against their own. And then Marie, who has best powers by the way, uses blood daggers to save the trustees. Blood daggers actually a really good soup name for her. She should use that.
Bloody Marie.
That's terrible.
And I love how this episode has a couple of montages of her remembering past lessons in her own training, and then she's putting them to practical use. But this is fitting because none of these lessons were actually taught by her teachers at the school. She's just drawing from her own life experience. So after the blood daggers, Adam says,
I'm putting that in my next movie!
And this was just a great moment because it shows how even in a life or death situation, people in this universe are still always looking for something they can use to get ahead. His near-death experience is just another trauma that can be exploited to gain attention and clout. And then Marie does the ultimate injustice to Cate. See, Cate has always longed to touch someone, and Marie removes her ability to touch, severing her arm and thus her connection to other people. And this is when Homelander finally shows up, and I loved the quiet awe and reverence here everybody gives him. Everybody knows he's the leader of the Seven, the most powerful Supe, and in many ways, he's like the leader or the king of all Supes. This is like the gods have descended from Mount Olympus to deliver their judgment. It's a literal Deus Ex Machina. And notice the theme when he arrives. It's like it's supposed to be a big triumphant movie hero theme.
Hans Zimmer. Title card, Dawn of the Seven.
But instead it's distorted and twisted, like it's in a minor key, because Homelander is a distortion of the idea that superheroes are going to be good. You see, all superhero fiction is based around an agreed upon lie, that if somebody actually had superpowers, they would still obey the laws and conventions of society. Groundbreaking comics like Alan Moore's Miracle Man really interrogate this idea, and have the superhumans become essentially gods and solve all the world's problems. And in The Boys, over the course of several seasons, we slowly see Homelander embrace the idea that human laws cannot govern him. He ended last season by murdering a guy in broad daylight, and he was being cheered for it. And here we see that he is carrying this same attitude even further. He does not care that these kids have slaughtered humans. They're just humans.
What people?
But he does care when Supes turn on their own.
Do you like attacking your own kind?
This scene is so brilliant. It really brings the show full circle. Marie dreamed of joining the Seven and becoming a hero like Homelander, and the show slowly disillusioned her until Homelander completes that disillusionment with one line.
What kind of animal are you?
In the first episode, she was also punished for doing the right thing and saving lives, and now she's being punished in this episode for doing the right thing and saving lives. And how big of a WTF moment was it when Homelander actually burned her? What a pitch-perfect ending. And then we get this kind of Taxi Driver falling action where the absolute violent psychopath is spun to look like a hero, and the real heroes are punished. Marie wakes up in a hospital room with the others.
There's no doors.
Setting up season 2 as Kim Wilde's Kids in America plays. Now this song is perfect for a few reasons. The song is about teenagers going out, being happy, living carefree lives, and dancing. So the placement here is deeply ironic. These are the kids in today's America. They're trapped indoors by COVID, by social media, prisoners of their own expectations of what it means to do the right thing. And then the lyric before the mid-credits scene is, "I sit alone and I wonder why." Because at the start of the song, the singer is trapped in her room. And then we cut to that why. Billy Butcher discovering the woods. Now, this means that come season 4 of The Boys, Butcher is going to know about the woods and he'll probably find out about Chekhov's soup virus. And this is also setting up a few plot lines for next season. Homelander's trial and Butcher racing to find this virus so he can kill Homelander and maybe kill all soups. Now, Gen V has also been confirmed for season 2, so I doubt if we're going to see any of the imprisoned kids in season 4 of The Boys, but we might see Sam or Emma. I mean, now they're being touted as the new Guardians of Godolkin who stopped this rampage, according to a Cameron Coleman news report. Now, I'm sure all of this was at least in part Homelander's idea. He would want these race traitors in prison for fighting their own kind. But also, locking the kids in jail means that they can't talk about the woods and everybody's public image is maintained. But what's he going to do about Cate and Sam? Homelander smiles at them on the screen. So would he offer them a place in the 7, or would he want them locked up to keep them quiet? So I don't think he would want Cate to be anywhere near him if her mental powers could actually work on him and she could read his mind. But still, I think we'll see at least one cast member from this show in season 4 of The Boys, and my money is on Sam. I think that a psychotic fascist Homelander toady would make for a great antagonist on that show. Sam also fits the role of like Black Noir. He's the muscle who would do whatever Homelander tells him to do. Well guys, that's Gen V. I love the first season. Let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.